I received a package a while ago from an order I made from James Baldwin over at Adam Voyages to get the templates for a tilt-up well from a in the Lazarette to turn that into a motor mount for this guy. Brand new 9.8 horsepower Tohatsu, extra long shaft, sail drive. And I am just now finally getting around to doing this. I actually we bought a new big screen TV, and part of the packaging came with this really thick cardboard. So I'm using that for part of the templates. So here we go. Alright, so we've got all the cutouts from the plans for the Elberg 30 Lazarette outboard well conversion. So now we got a dry fit into the boat. This is what the boat's going to look like. The hole in the boat. Like that. The motor's going to sit down into there. The reason I cut out two of these, or cut this out so precise, this I'm going to lay on the actual transom to cut it out. If the dry fit with this goes well. And the reason I say that is I have motor on a mount right here, and we'll try to mock this up so it's at the right angles for the transom itself. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that yet, but that's the plan. This is the fun stuff for inside the boat. This is the gas tank shelf. And the same on the other side. These do need to be dry fit, so I gotta go up and do that. Motor mount, same thing. So here's the mock-up. And I think basically what it's telling me is that it's close enough, but I'm gonna have to actually cut the hole in the boat and see if everything fits. Now the one issue I have is that when I flip it up, the cutout seems to work just fine when it's in this position, but to get to this position it actually has to go a little higher to catch the support and then rest on it to stay up. And I don't know, I know in James's video he went back and cut out a little more up here, and that may or may not be necessary. I don't know if he reflected it in the plans he sent me, or if it's just my mock-up. I mean, I don't know if I have these angles right. All right, just laying out to see where I can fit on a this is a 1/2 inch marine grade plywood. Okay, I've done some work on the outboard well modification to my Elberg 30 already, but just bare minimum at this point. I bought the plans from James Baldwin over at Adam Voyages, and I'm going to try to do it. So far what I've done, I've got the main hatch opened up. You can see a slight outline maybe of where the hole's going to go, but I'm not quite there yet. I have to basically clean this up. So I got a bucket of water, so I got to wash this out really good, and then that is access to the bilge. That is more access to that's access to the locker there. It's just an opening, some tabbing. This is where the engine exhaust used to come through and go out there. That was the hand pump bilge. So I gotta seal up all these. So first thing I gotta do is wash this out really well. I found that until I get the pieces in to close off all of those access to the bilge. I got to close that off because obviously I don't want water coming in and going into the bilge. That's going to be a separate watertight compartment. Till I get those pieces in, this dry fitting just doesn't work. So first step, wash this out. So to clean this out, I got, you know, scrubby pads, but best find that I have for this is a little attachment I got at a pet store. Yeah, put it on a water bottle to spray your dog's feet off, but boy, it works great for this. Not too much. Goes down into my nicely redone bilge, and I'll just sop that up when I'm done. Got this washed pretty good. Now my decisions are, I gotta get this front of the Lazarette locker bulkhead secured. So I got a piece of wood I'm gonna put in here. I got to cut. I already have it measured. I got a piece for right here, and then down here there's a little opening there, and there's one on the other side as well. Those go to the they go underneath the, this is a liner boat. So in the locker you can see how the liner starts on this. This is actually a liner, and there's this shelf here. And this shelf continues right on into that back locker, and that's that opening there. So I gotta seal that off, because if I'm ever on a heel and there's water in there, it's gonna go right in there and down into my bilge. So I have to seal off those as well. Now there's openings up in the top corner at both sides, and that is kind of on the underside of this whole thing. And then I gotta grind down where these were, plug those holes, and there's one more plug over there, or one more hole over there I gotta plug. The cutout's gonna be here. This was a knee where the chain plate was for the rear stay, and I gotta do an external chain plate now, so I'll figure that out at some point. Alright, I got down into the Lazarette locker, and I cut up all kinds of little cardboard pieces so I can get the front wall of that Lazarette locker totally secured, cut off from the back so it's watertight. So if you ever want to have fun, dress up in Tyvek, get full face mask on, goggles, earmuffs, crawl into the Lazarette locker and grind in sand on a humid 80-degree day. Good times. Okay, we've got the front of the Lazarette sealed up. And that was the biggest piece there. That's the one I gotta really make sure is the best as far as watertight. When I install there's going to be a box here, engine mount. So this is all going to get fiberglassed over anyway. So small fill there, and then way up in the corner there, filled up in there too. I sealed off the outside and filled with epoxy. I've got a bunch of pieces cut out, so I'm going to fiberglass that right now. I'm going to fiberglass over these guys. There's big portions of this back wall, especially in the center, where this is a good, oh boy, I don't know, half-inch thick of fiberglass going down here. But then there's areas that is wood, so all these wood areas I gotta at least coat in thickened epoxy. This is going to be the buoyancy chamber from here down, so this isn't really going to be accessible. Sorry, this is not going to be accessible, or doesn't need to be pretty. But any of the areas that have the exposed plywood without any existing fiberglass, I got to cover with some fiberglass. And see them over here. Just this is where the engine exhaust came through, so I got a fiberglass over that as well. And then I've got these pieces, finally, all the plans. But I've got these pieces finally cut up. This guy goes right here. That one's nice because it's a good pressure fit. The other one I gotta shim in a little bit to get it to stick. Let me do a couple things on this. Alright, hopefully the fan noise isn't too loud. It's 80 degrees and humid today, so I gotta keep the fan. I turned the closer one off. There's one up back there too. Get a breeze going through the whole length of the boat. I got it open in the front and open in the back. Anyway, so I just want to show how I'm doing this. James Baldwin, who designed this, says to put put a nail or something on the back. So I put his nails 1.5 inches down because there's supposed to be an inch lip here. So I put 1.5 inches down because it's a 1/2 inch piece of wood. I actually can see where I had actually put in at 1 inch down and didn't take into account the thickness of the wood. So anyway, live and learn. So put this guy in. So that's, roughly in place. And then my shelf on the right side here. This is starboard. This is ported at starboard. So here's the shelf, and I put this little guy in here to pull it out. Now James says, for some reason, he says you gotta put this in first before you put that in. Put the shelf in first before you put this vertical member in, but it actually does go in and then just drops right into place. And right there is where it needs to be. So that's the dry fit. He waits until the end to do all of the glass work. He'll set this up, cut the hole. I know from the plans and from measuring out this, and then when I do the other side, we'll be out of the way of all of this, and there's room for the motor. So I'm gonna do these, get them done, and I can just focus on this center part. And then the last test fit, this is the 3-gallon gas tank that is meant to go in here. This came with the Tohatsu 9.8 that I bought, but plenty of room. And then move up there too. So there'll be cleats to hold it in place, but tie downs more likely. So that's where I'm at. So now here's the other side, dry fit. So yeah, so it feel good to have this part done. This was one of the things I was worried about trying to get right, and then the next one is clearly cutting out the hole in the right spot. And one of the issues I had, I cut this out to the dimensions that James required, and I cut out even more since then. This back wall on this model, you can see there's this big lip here, and to get this flush with the back wall, I had to cut part of that lip. So the way I did it, the plans call for these pieces on top that the lid comes down around to be on top of here. So this one will run on top of this here, but for front and back, I got it longer than it needs to be. It's going to be inside, and I think it'll be able to attach it really nice here, and it'll be attached on the inside there as well. Alright, well, I got one vertical support in, and I'm taped only on one side. I'm not sure how much I'm going to try to get on the inside for that. Through hauls, got fiberglass on, fiberglass and epoxied the lower portions, these areas, and I think I might be done for the day. It's kind of getting tight in here as far as working and not stepping or getting an elbow in areas I already worked. So I'm gonna let this cure, come back, Probably do the shelf over here and the vertical support over here in the next wave. Okay, so I've got the starboard shelf built and the port shelf built. Fiberglass along the inside of both. Fiberglass all along the front here. I mean, not this part, which is already solid, but connecting that wood piece to the bottom, the floor, and the back here. Now this guy, this side is still all wet because I did the other side first yesterday. There's a nail or a screw there and another screw over here that they're holding it in the position that I want it to be in. So I'll have to come back tomorrow and do this section and a little bit over there. So that's pretty good. That I can take care of, and then I can start working on measuring out the hole. I get to measure out where the cutout is and where the motor mount is, according to the directions that I got from James Baldwin over at Adam Voyager.